is the point of view from Washington. This whole strategic ploy by Pakistan, Air Marshal, to question America for its role in in the creation of the terror infrastructure is going to bounce back on you. It's not going to work. It's not going to rub off on the Americans or scare the Americans. In fact, they are throwing the argument back at you that you, as in Pakistan, you need to look within instead of pointing the finger at Washington.
I think if we only give ourselves a bit of a more objective analysis of what the Prime Minister said. But before I go there, let me go back to the point that we were making before the break. The point about indictment of a few individuals, does that mean that criminality has already been established? Or will the court proceed with the process before it can be established? So let's leave that point there. Come back to the 2007 when Casey mentioned in terms of Pakistan ISI putting all these groups together to develop a joint conglomerate of terrorism as a home of terrorism and exporting it to the world, including to India. In 2007, Pakistan began to close a dragnet around these groups which were working, let's say the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the others. That is when they were pushed out of our cities and went ahead and joined into Waziristan, and perhaps some of them combined with the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban more importantly. Also keep in mind that the 2008 Mumbai incident, as far as we say and as far as our reading goes and as far as the broader understanding goes, as far in the intellectual circles at least, was an attempt by the same groups to try and put India and Pakistan onto a war path so that there can be space created for these terrorist groups to operate freely.
But these arguments, Marshal Chaudhary, are not rubbing off anymore.
As a part of your basic question.
My point to you is,
wait, it may not be dropping off within.
Nobody's buying that argument anymore, that we are the victims.
No, go ahead. I'll listen to you.
No, I'm just saying that.
I understand. I understand. No. We are not the. No, yes. we are not the victims. Let me just clarify to you. We are not the victims. We are not looking for sympathy from anybody. It is our war. We fought this war with 35,000 dead, which no country combined, all countries combined, have not been able to give that sacrifice. Yes. Let me get back to the Prime Minister's speech that you made. I think this has been accepted by Hillary Clinton very clearly. She said that that means Pakistan and the United States together, after 1989, left these groups unattended, left this area and went away out of Afghanistan, leaving these groups entirely to their own doings. And that is when the mess was left behind for us to clean, or for that matter, to let build up to the point that we have reached today. So the genesis of the problem is unfortunately a combined Pakistan-US responsibility, because that is where we left it without.
But you see what I just want.
Now let me also come to the next
point.
Let
me get Mr. Vickering to respond. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute. 1 minute, Air Marshal.
Just a minute.
You see this question you are making today. This point you are making today.
Let me just say.
No, Pakistan. You are saying that we are not responsible. But I am quoting your Prime Minister. Your Prime Minister is saying. Who was responsible for the growth of the Al-Qaeda? Who was responsible for the myth of Osama bin Laden? And he said Pakistan alone cannot be held for flawed policies and blunders of others. So you're pointing the finger at America. I want Mr. Vickering to respond to that. That was the specific comment, Mr. Vickering. Is there any ambiguity in the comment?
Arnab, let me speak my. Let me complete my.
I want while you are there, I want you to hear the view from Washington.
Please let me complete my argument.
Yeah. Okay. You complete your argument, then I'll get Mr. Vickering in.
Yeah, okay.
Go on.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say here is that it was a war with the Soviet Union to throw them out of Afghanistan. It was a CIA and Pakistan operation, America-US-Pakistan operation. It came to success in 1989. We ended up where we did, and subsequently left the area and left these groups to their own doings. And that is the mess that you're trying to clean up today.
Okay.
So I really don't know how can anyone forget about that genesis.
Okay, fine. Now, Mr. Vickering, that argument, that Osama bin Laden is part of our collective legacy. We all created him.
Well, I think it is part of legacy, but the primary blame for creation of Al-Qaeda has to be on the people who were actually doing it, Osama bin Laden and his henchmen. People forget it's not a question of India, US, or Pakistan being able to change facts immediately. Things are not all powerful, so that's where the primary responsibility is. Sure, there was a lack of intention. I think anybody who's ever seen the movie Charlie Wilson's War sees that at the end of that, after the United States had put a lot of money into helping get the Soviet Union out of Afghanistan, we didn't continue and follow through, and that is short-sighted. But the reality is that there's plenty of blame to go around, and the question is, where do you go from here? And where you go from here is to first of all find out how in the world this could have happened and how we can help Pakistan be more effective against the terrorists that are threatening it as well as India and the United States.
Okay. Now, Mr. Doval and Casey, what I found interesting was that Gilani's comment, even before Mr. Gilani's comment, Rehman Malik questioned America in the role of the creation of the terror infrastructure. He took on America, he took on the allies, he said, you're responsible for the spread of terrorism in the region. Do you see this as a strategic ploy, Mr. Doval? A strategic ploy within Pakistan?
What I say is
yes,
that Pakistan harps on 3 points and thinks that it provides it a total insulation and steel armor against anything that it does to destabilize any region or get into any act of violence. One is the genesis of the groups and how America had also been a party. Now, leaving completely the context and the time frame, we are all talking in the context of September 2001 onwards. What happened thereafter when a global consensus emerged and there were UN resolutions 1373 specifically mentioned, to which Pakistan is a signatory, that anybody who directly or indirectly harbors, gives any shelter, maintains any type of a link with Osama bin Laden will be treated as a terrorist state. Pakistan is this thing, and there is a series of this thing. Now, what was before that? Much can be argued, but I am not going into that. The second point it does is that is this thing, that strategic hedging. That is, Pakistan feels that it can give the argument that Pakistan, in the interest of its own safety and security, might be taking certain actions, and therefore it is immune to anything, and we will just say, what has India done and what has somebody else in the world done? That it feels it is strategic hedging, which it is not. You have to explain and take the responsibility of the individual acts of criminality and felony. The third is that we have lost so many. Pakistan, yes, we all sympathize that Pakistan has lost precious human lives, and we consider these lives as this thing, and Pakistan is. But what Pakistan forgets to mention is that Pakistan is fighting a particular variety of the terrorists who consider those Islamic states which are not following the Islamic Sharia according to what they interpret it as their enemies. It may be Sipahi Saiba, it may be Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, it may be Tehreek-e-Jafariya. And also that section of Taliban which is not amenable to it, but it is supporting Gulbuddin Hekmatyar or Jalaluddin Haqqani and the other groups which are not threatening Pakistan, and it is totally supporting those groups which probably are furthering Pakistan's aggressive strategic agenda in India and the rest of the world. Now, Pakistan has become a victim because its state is being seen as a non-Islamic state by a section of these radicals. And Pakistan takes that responsibility and cannot tell India or United States or the rest of the world that you are responsible for our suffering.
Sure, but you know, we are very frustrated, Casey, and I want to take this opportunity. Maybe you could make the point to Mr. Vickering. You know, Casey, so many times we've debated this. Why is America not sensitive to our concerns? Why is not America not taking up the 2611 issue? Why is America not saying anything about Dawood Ibrahim when they have named him as one of the world's most wanted men? You know, America's convenient game in the region, I think America's got to seriously reassess that, isn't it, Casey? Today they have named, 3 years after 2611, they have named the ISI hand in 2611. But that takes us nowhere.
Arnab, what has happened is in 2001, after 9/11, the deal which was done by President Musharraf with President Bush was, when President Bush asked them that you're either with me, with us, or you're against us, the deal was that they will, and that is where UN Security Council resolution, which came just 3-4 days after 9/11, 1373, which prescribed under Chapter 7, all countries to do A, B, C, D, which means give no support to any terrorists, particularly Al-Qaeda and so on and so forth. But what Pakistan did was, they took Al-Qaeda completely on board, they started going after it, they were preserving some elements of the Taliban, they were not going to go after Haqqanis, etc. It became a selective war in which Lashkar-e-Taiba was exempt. Nobody was going to do anything about it because that was not going against the Pakistani state. It was being supported directly by ISI. Now the problem arose that over a period of time, these boundaries melted. Al-Qaeda, the links between Al-Qaeda, Lashkar-e-Taiba and the others got seamless, and that is where role of people like Sajid Mir and all comes in, that notionally they have worked with Headley, with ISI against India, but they've actually also functioned on the Al-Qaeda agenda. And this is where US has got a shock, because what has now suddenly become obvious to them is that there is still support for Al-Qaeda, for Osama within the system. They want to know how high that level of support is.
No,
I think that is the whole issue.
No,
but certainly there is a distrust level which is emerging from this,
yes,
that even what was the core is no longer something where Pakistan is completely above board.
Yes, but Mr. Vickering, finally, is America really shocked? I mean, America has known, declassified documents 2 years after 9/11. It was written out that the Al-Qaeda network was able to expand under the safe sanctuary extended by the CIA under Pakistan's directives. America has known this, Mr. Vickering. It's just maybe not acted
on. Let's make it clear.
Yes.
Let's make it clear that the United States and India have been working together more and more closely on all aspects of terrorism, the attacks on Mumbai, the attacks on the parliament, and it has been a process. Should we have done more sooner? Yes, we should have done more sooner. India should have done more sooner in working with the United States. There are a lot of things that needed to be done. But to say that the United States is shocked and amazed by this is not correct. We've been fighting terrorism for some time now in every way we can. The mistake that Pakistan made was an obvious one. That is to say there are good terrorists and bad terrorists.
Yes.
And to try to formulate public policy on that basis. The United States has been very clear all along that terrorism, we call it a war on terrorism for a purpose, and that is that all terrorism is to be condemned and resisted. Now, will we be able to be more effective? I certainly hope so, and I hope it's going to be by working more closely in conjunction with India.
Yes. Well, I guess the response is really to the situation, working closely with India. Maybe there'll be greater understanding and less things, hidden from each other and done covertly, as in the case of Pakistan. To my guests, Mr. Vickering, Ajit Doval, KC Singh, thank you very much. There are great lessons that we have to learn from all of this. And as I said right on the beginning of the News Hour tonight, there are a lot of apologists for Pakistan and India. They would do well tonight to read the dossier, which is part of the American government's own case on 26/11, in which it is very clearly mentioned, extremely clearly mentioned, that the ISI had a role in plotting 26/11.